in an office.
Are they Russian or Greek?
I believe both are Russian.
Yeah, Russian. I would figure.
Both
Not
Russian.
Russian.
At some point, we used to have three. Imagine.
Yeah. Just point the finger.
Your friend.
Yeah, my turn. Or here, my.
Okay.
We used to have an employee working with us. His family name is Terkalis. Terkalis means from Greek. Terkalis. He was born here, like, I mean, he's Canadian. Hello.
It's hockey.
Hi, everyone.
Nice to meet you, Joseph. Hello. Nice to meet you, Catherine, Munir, Cream Pumps. Calvin, nice to meet you, Calvin.
Arpan here. Nice to meet you. It's officially afternoon.
Yeah.
So what are we learning? Sump pumps?
Wastewater, sewage,
Water, sewage, all that stuff?
some effluent, some heavy duty stuff.
So if I ever have questions, I can ask both of you. Perfect.
Exactly.
Contact.
You can overload us with a lot of questions. That's why we're here.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you.
Hello.
That's good, because usually I have questions on projects.
Hi, good afternoon. Arpan, nice to meet you. Kevin? Kevin. So Arvin. Okay. Nice to meet you. Good afternoon, everyone on the phone. We'll probably just start in another 5 minutes. Give everyone a chance to grab some lunch. Wish there was a way to teleport some to you guys, but we can't. So I hope you got something for yourselves.
Nice. Well, I have spoken to maybe hundreds of people. Every day I get almost like few inquiries from consultants every day on a daily basis. And
You were helping me with doing like the hack calculation.
yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are you expecting more people to join us in person?
What time is it? Yeah, give them a minute.
Okay.
They're here, but who knows if they want to come in. You know the final class. Not bad. Could take longer. The fingers, this can get up and see.
Is it okay if we shut the door here? Or?
Yeah, we'll have.
Alrighty, everyone. Good afternoon, and everyone on the call and virtually joining us as well. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll obviously, as people come in, they can join us more than really happy to do that. But we'll get started here. So basically, my name is Arpan Gupta from Crane Pumps and Systems. Been with Crane for around 4 years now. I'm the regional sales manager for Ontario.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Here and over on the screen, my name is Munir, and I'm the senior application specialist in Crane Pumps, and I've been working with Crane Pumps for over 12 years now. So it's nice to see you all. Of course, we are willing to have questions from you, and feel free to ask as much as you want. So let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah, and so really, just to give an idea what we're going to be talking about here today, it's really looking at wastewater from a high-level point of view, looking at how, what are the trends, what has changed, what has caused, issues, and, what are we doing, what are some of the solutions that, you can look at from our side. So really, Crane Pumps, us as an organization, we are really focused, our focus is wastewater. And whatever we have done in the last 10 years or so, it's been focused on enhancing our solutions to tackle with wastewater, right? So, Crane itself basically is the parent organization. And then there are obviously additional brands under Crane. And, based out in Piqua, Ohio. If you don't know where the town is or have never heard of it, don't worry, because last time I crossed the border and the officer asked me, where are you going? I said, Piqua, Ohio. And he goes, what's Piqua, Ohio? So no problems, right? But yeah, so that's where basically we are based down in Ohio, manufacturing facility, and we have an office here in Brampton. And then, we have all these brands which we'll talk about, but primarily what we'll be focusing on today is going to be Barnes, which is our wastewater portfolio, basically. Crane, just to give you an idea, as an organization as a whole, is basically divided into 3 different businesses. We fall under the process flow technology segment, which is, your water, valves, and there's a lot of other things in it. But then we also do stuff for, aerospace. So anytime you take a Boeing plane, for example, landing gear, seats, and all of that stuff is made by Crane. You do your RV vans, the fiberglass cladding that's used on them, that's made by Crane. And we have another division of Crane that prints money for the U.S. government. If they have extra stock, we tell them, hey, send some over. We'll lighten your inventory, but they never do that. And then, obviously Crane also makes vending machines. So anytime you do a Coke dispense or you're in a casino, for example, the payment mechanism is made by Crane. So very diverse, basically, and we are part of that entire organization. And obviously R.T. Crane, our founder, basically 1855, that's when it all kicked off with valves. And, we talk about his resolution, which is basically a couple of things he said when he was in his early 20s, which is still applicable today. And that's really the culture of Crane. And that basically what it says is, be fair and just, put your whole mind upon the business, deal customers and competitors fairly and all that good stuff, right? So, and we even go by that today, and as valid as it was before. Yeah, a lot of history, like, your elevators that you go in, a company called Otis, basically it was Mr. Crane who started and sold it to Otis. So he made the first elevators. Just talking about wastewater in general, we've seen increase in, wet pipes, flushable pipes, sanitation, and all that stuff. Obviously, COVID also drove a lot of that. But at the same time, there's a focus on high efficiency when it comes to appliances. So, you have your low flow shower heads, you have low, water usage for dishwashers, washing machines, and all of that stuff. And what's that done is, we have less water, but now we have more solids. So imagine you're basically creating a recipe to make a smoothie. And eventually the smoothie is going to become so thick that it's not going to blend, essentially. So that's what's happening. And, it's causing all these issues with pumps clogging constantly, a lot of service calls, pump trucks, and all the jazz that comes along with it. I'll skip the next image because you're eating, but it's of a, it's of a squirrel, or I don't know if it's a squirrel or rat trapped in the pump. I don't know. If you were lucky, you glanced at it. But just based on the feedback that we have received from the field, from end users, from our customers, on-site developers, clogging remains the biggest issue. All the other things that you see, most of them are either an application error or it's regular maintenance items, like you would change tires on your car type of thing. And so, just to kind of summarize it, obviously we have more solids in the waste stream. We have less water in the waste stream, and that's causing issues with, viscosity. You have to deal with more efficient appliances. You have to deal with narrow piping and all that jazz, and that's what's causing, all these clogging issues, and that's what Crane Pumps and Systems Bonds is focused on. Now, do you know the issue? Clogging is an issue. There's different ways of handling it, but if you narrow it down really, like from a high level point of view, there's only two ways of doing it. Either you try to pass those solids, or you try to modify those solids. Now, in terms of passing the solids, there are different technologies available. In terms of modifying the solids, there are different technologies available, right? And we'll start off with your solids passage solutions, and like this, basically this graph, or this graphic will go through this increasing order of how capable a pump is in terms of handling solids. So right now we're starting with your some effluent and sewage pumps, which for the most part are very clean applications, or light or moderate amount of solids is what they can handle. But with these pumps, they're only going to pass the solids. They're not going to do anything to the solids. Just it comes in and goes. And so, in that range, basically you have your residential sump pumps that would go in a basement. You have your effluent pumps that go into like on-site septic, system. For example, homes, they don't have municipal wastewater services. They have, like on-site septic systems to basically the entire water of the house comes into a pit and it goes through filters, and then it's discharged, essentially. And those effluent pumps are used to discharge that water because it's already a little bit clean. The solids have settled. It doesn't need to carry a lot of solids. And we are looking at them in the increasing order of how much solids can they handle. So, like you can see, your sump pump can only handle up to 1.5. Effluent pump, 2-inch discharge, and up to 3/4-inch solids. Then you go into your sewage pumps. These are very common here in the GTA. Like, these are the bread and butter pumps, you can call them, used in your sanitary applications, sewage applications. They can handle up to 2-inch solids. What I mean by that, if there's a 2-inch circumference wall, it will go easily pass through the pump without clogging. And then you have your non-clog pumps, which, your bigger 4-inch discharges, up to 15 horsepower, and they can handle up to 3-inch solids. So if there's a 3-inch ball, it will easily come and go out of the pump. Basically, that's how to think about it. Then we take a step further. We go into the cutter pump. Now, what we're doing is, instead of only passing solids, we're modifying them a little bit. And what the cutter pump does is it has a blade at the bottom here, and it's rubbing against that plate and creating a scissor action, basically chopping the solids, and it chops the solids into a 1-inch size, basically. 2 to 5 horsepower, multiple ways you can mount it, basically. Then we move into grinder pumps. Again, becoming very popular recently, obviously driven by the changes that we have talked about in the waste stream itself. Again, with the grinder pumps, we are modifying the solids. So this is a model, 3D model of, the 2 horsepower axial cutter mechanism that you see here. And think of it like a cheese grater. Think of it like it's creating a smoothie, basically. And what it does is it's going to nibble on the solids until they're small enough to go through these small holes here, basically. Or to the people on the phone, right? And, I'll pass it around. You can have a look. And so what it does is it nibbles and creates a slurry out of the solids until they're small enough to pass through those holes. And then usually grinder pumps are typically used with smaller piping, to create that pressure, to create that scouring velocity, basically to pump the liquid. Mostly they are designed for your low flow, high head applications. So when you have to pump, long distances, very unique pressure, that's what they are basically made for. And like our grinder pump series, basically, it's 3 different families. Your rival, that's your residential grinder. So someone in the basement want to upgrade their existing sump pump to a grinder pump, that's what they would use. Razor is the one that the model that we have here is the 2 horsepower grinder, used very commonly actually in the GTA because of the flow restrictions that we have by the city. The knee pumps discharge very high heads but very low flows. So it's very common in those applications. And obviously where you need some sort of modification to the solids. When it's a dirty pit, you need the solids to pass through. Some of the other things with the razor grinder is that the entire pump can be disassembled with one Allen key. So, really focus on serviceability, standard seals, large handles to be allowed, to allow people to easily lift them up. And then obviously available in multiple voltages and multiple configurations. Your blade, that's the higher, heavier duty grinder pumps. So that from 3 to 15 horsepower. They are available in explosion proof as well, both the razor and the blade. And, obviously multiple voltage options available, multiple discharge options available. And obviously, for us, Canada, it's a small market compared to the US, but, obviously 500 volt or 600 volt is a standard, and that's a standard offering for us. So we haven't shied away from that, even though there are issues. Then we move further. So now we're going to talk about the heavier duty solid handling pumps. Before we talked about your 2-inch and your 3-inch sewage ejector pumps that pass the solids. These ones are for applications that are even more harsh. And when we say, passage of solids, basically this is a 3-inch circumference ball that's going to pass through the pump. That's what we mean. That's how we rate how much solids a pump can handle. So like that baseball ball, 3-inch circumference, straight out of the pump. The pump didn't modify the ball, it didn't crush the ball, it didn't tear the ball, it just passed it, right? And so basically these pumps, we call it the SH series. They're capable of 3-inch solids handling, basically available in oil and air-filled motors, which we'll talk about more. And the way we play with the non-clog pumps, since they're not modifying the solids, we play with the type of impeller we use. So, for example, in the picture that you see here, the impeller that we have in here is a vortex impeller. Vortex impeller, typically it's recessed, it's small, it doesn't take a lot of volume in the volute itself, so you have more room for the solid to pass. Now, there are other options. There's your vortex, there's your monovane, there's dual vane, and there's also tri-vane impellers. And basically, it's a trade-off between efficiency and clog resistance. So with vortex, you get a lot of clog resistance, but you lose on efficiency. It's almost like, if you're into swimming, instead of using your entire arm, you're just using your fists, basically. So you won't go to further in the water, but if you use your entire arm, you'll go further. So that's basically the concept. So, your mono-vein is more middle of the road type of situation. So, when you're working on a job, when you're working on a project, if the end user is more focused on efficiency, you'd pick a mono-vein or a dual-vein impeller. If they're focused more on, hey, guys, we don't want to have any issues with the pumps clogging, we don't want any pump trucks, we don't care about efficiency, we need clog resistance, then you would go with the vortex impeller, basically. Now, the other thing with our pumps, basically, it's our plug-and-play code, which is this one right here. And the concept is basically this portion, the terminal block, this is manufactured inside the pump. That's what you see here at the top, like that. And the idea is to be, to allow on site to remove the pump without having to remove the cord, without having to pull the cord. This cord is rated from 400 to 600 volt, so you can use the same cord and you can use it with different pumps, or you can change the voltage of a pump by changing the cord. Other way of thinking about it. Obviously, this is standard on all our heavy-duty solid handling pumps, starting from your 2 horsepower up to 150 horsepower. It's explosion-proof rated, so class 121 certified. And the concept is this piece, the orange piece that you see here, it's like a marshmallow, it's a grommet. When the bolts are tightened on top, it expands and it creates a seal. And that's how it seals at the top of the pump. And there's only one way it can go inside unless someone tries to force it. But there's a lip here at the bottom. There's a lip here at the bottom. Once they match the lips, there's only one way it will go in, and as long as it's wired properly in the control panel, you're good to go. You just plug it in, and there you go. The good thing is, sometimes, for example, for explosion-proof applications, you're looking at a $5,000 bill minimum if you need to pull a 100-foot cord through the conduits to remove a pump servicing. In this case, you just take the cord off the pump, and you take the pump off separately. The other thing is, very common. The pump arrives on site and they find out that, the control panel, it's too far. We needed 50-foot cords instead of 30-foot cords. So instead of changing the pump, you just get a different cord and you can change it that way, right? That's a patented feature for us, something very unique. I'll pass it around. Just be careful about this tab here, might, hurt a little bit. But yeah, that's really the concept behind the plug-and-play code. There's something unique, and the power code leads, the moisture sensors, and the temperature sensors, which are standard on these pumps, they're all in one code. So that you don't have to deal with multiple codes. And on the smaller pumps, also we have the plug-and-play code, but it looks more like this. It's smaller, right? But same concept, basically. Yeah, so just talking about the plug-and-play cord again here, you can change your voltage, you can change the length of the cord easily by just changing the cord. You don't have to change the entire pump. You need to pull the entire cord from the conduit when you need to pull the pump out for servicing. It's the temperature and moisture sensors are inside that cord. You don't need a separate cord, and it's available in all sizes of the heavy-duty pumps, basically. And like you would see on the picture below, it looks a little bit different. That's for the bigger pumps, basically. There are different motor frame sizes. On the bigger ones, it looks like that it's in the picture, in the below picture. And on the smaller pumps, it looks like the one that you have in your hands. Any questions so far? Awesome. Now we go into the chopper pumps. So now we are dealing with a lot of solids, right? and we can't just pass them, we have to do something about them. So what we have, what we call is the site chopper pump. And the concept behind the chopper pump is basically this is the 3D model of the chopper mechanism. And the idea is this portion here, this is the rotating piece, and it's pressed on the impeller of the pump. And this is the stationary piece, which is at the bottom of the balloon. So what we see here at the bottom, that's striker plate, it's at the bottom. And then the other blade is attached at the impeller, and it's coming from the top of the pump. And what it does is it creates another action, basically, right? And the idea is to reduce the solids to 1 to 3 inch. So you can throw in a moped, t-shirts, cords, ropes, gloves, anything, and it will chop it. Depending on the application, depending on the installation, if it's all done properly, you would reduce the amount of clogging that your pump would be experiencing. This entire mechanism, it's made of heat-treated stainless steel. And, obviously, you might ask, what's the life of these blades? How long can they run? So depending on the application, how harsh it is, it ranges from 5 to 7 years. After that time, you can sell kits. So, they can drop the striker plate, put a new impeller in with a new blade, put it back together, and good to go. The mechanism is refreshed. There's also shim kits available, to adjust the clearance between these blades, because you need very tight clearances. So it's around, 5 thou, it's good. So if, over time, if the clearance has increased, obviously, imagine a scissor, if the blades are not tight together, you won't be able to cut too much. But, you can obviously adjust that to make that happen. This is from a demo, and I will pass that around too. You can have a look. This is from a demo of the chopper pump in action. So there's tennis balls, there's a rope, there's sponge, there's rags in it that, were thrown into the pump, and they chop into 1 to 3 inch pieces, basically. And you can have a look. It's clean water, so don't worry. So and the other thing is it's open from the center. What happens is a lot of other manufacturers who make the chopper pump, they hold the blade and the striker plate through a bolt. What happens is if there's stringy stuff here, mopeds, strings, eventually they'll wrap up around that nut, and they can basically torque the nut out, destroy the nut, and then you have issues. So for us, we decided to not have that in the middle, and that's why it's all open, so that nothing wraps around. Now, this chopper pump is based on the same platform as the SH heavy-duty non-clog pumps. Basically, what we did was the top portion is the same, but the bottom, the wet end side of things, comes with the chopper mechanism. And if you have a SH pump before, a solid handling pump, and it's experiencing clogging, it can be converted into a chopper pump. We sell kits for that, so it would just be a new volute, new impeller, new blades, and now you have a chopper pump. The other thing is, again, this comes with the plug-and-play code as well as standard. Servicing is a big part for us, so we try to ensure that your wear parts, so seals, they're standard John Crane Type 21 seals. Anyone can buy it from any plumbing supply store. They don't have to come to us for a special seal and have to wait for a long time. So we take care of that. Your cord can easily be, as we have seen, removed by just untorquing 2 bolts, and you can take the pump out, service it, and all that good jazz. And then all the pumps, they have big handles, so that when they are being removed, it's easy for the installers to hook the chains so they can easily pull the pumps out. And obviously, our guide rail systems, very popular, very common, good to use, because if you have room in the pit, you don't have to enter the pit, you don't need confined space or anything if you use guide rails. You just take the pump out of the guide rails. So, just to show you the chopper pump in action. So this will be a mop head going through the pump as an example. So just,
Wow. That's
and then you see it chops it into 1 to 3 inch solids, basically. This next one, the lady who designed the pump, Ia, she's a big Walking Dead fan. She had a model of this bat in her office. Getting bored one day, they had the bigger chopper pump in the lab, and she just decided to throw it in the pump. And there you go.
wow.
So obviously, if you're dealing with shopping malls, prisons, long-term care homes, hospitals, those type of applications where, you see a lot of things in the pit that shouldn't be in the pit, and I wonder, like, what toilet these guys are using, not even being able to pump all that down the drain. It's a very good solution for those applications. Now, obviously, caveats to it is that obviously you have to size the pump properly. If it's a very dirty pit, a lot of solids in the pit, we need to size a bigger pump. A bigger size may not be a bigger horsepower, but we might need a bigger pump. And we need to make sure that the installation is done properly, the piping and everything follows best practices to make sure, everything gives justice to the pump as well. Now you might have a question, what's the difference between the chopper and the grinder pumps? Grinder is a slurry, chopper is a stew. Obviously, I like food. But yeah, basically that's the difference, right? Your grinders, as you said, it nibbles until it's too small for it to pass through smaller pipes. With your chopper pumps, the idea is to chop solids into 1 to 3 inch. The reason why 1 to 3 inch, when the water is pumped to a wastewater treatment plant, they have screens. So if your solids are like a slurry, it will pass through those screens. It's like making tea and your sieve is too big. Your tea leaves will go in the cup, right? So that's the reasoning behind it, why it's 1 to 3 inch. Because some people say that, it's not chopping it completely, or like, why are solids still big enough? That's the reason why they're big enough, right? And with these pumps, they go up to 10-inch discharge sizes, right? With your grinders, they only go up to 3 inch at the max. So that's why you can visually see the difference. Envy. So, what we have talked about so far, we've talked about the bottom portion of the pump. So, we talked about the solids handling pumps, which pass the solids. We talked about the chopper, which modifies the solids. But we were talking about the same platform. So now what we've done is, in the last 2 years, we've gone to a dry pit, air-filled, glycol-cooled motor, which we call NV. And the idea is, it uses the same platform at the bottom. You can use it with a chopper. You can use it with a non-clog, volute. But we have modified the motor to increase the efficiency and to make this pump more adaptable. What I mean by that, we'll let this guy here.
You wanted a diverse pump solution that high performance and high efficiency. So we built you a rugged and modern motor that utilizes a closed-loop glycol
So this glycol that circulates around the jacket of the pump.
an IE3 motor that meets premium efficient performance standards. You wanted a pump that could be used anywhere.
That's the typical installation with the breakaway fitting of pump.
Submerged or dry run.
This pump can cool itself, so you can plug it in however you want, horizontal or vertical.
Any installation or application. Pump end available with chopper and non-clog capabilities that features impeller options, including white iron, for even the most abrasive environments. A pump that has a lower minimum submergence, making for lower cost lift stations. A flood-proof pump that helps to prevent costly maintenance after storms. The motor platform utilizes our patented plug-and-play cord and has a back pull-out option, making serviceability easier, less time-consuming, and cleaner. We made a pump that's cool enough to handle with bare hands. A pump made in the USA that offers one of the market's most flexible solutions. A pump with the industry's best lead time, because we know you need stuff when a pump does. You needed an efficient pump, capable of handling anything. So we built you NV3.
So, just talking about the NV motor platform, basically the concept is the pump has a jacket and glycol runs through that jacket. Instead of oil, there's no oil, there's air in the motor basically. And the glycol, when it runs, it cools the motor. So typically what happens is with an oil-filled motor, what we were talking about before was all oil-filled. That's a traditional, how pumps were used to be designed. And the idea is when the pump is submerged in the water, it conducts, the heat, basically the oil helps conduct the heat and keeps the motor cool. Now, we have removed the oil, but we are circulating glycol around the pump to cool it, to cool the motor. And what that allows us to do is basically you don't have to have the pump submerged in water anymore. So you can install it horizontally, you can install it vertically in the pit, outside the pit, in the pit. As you can see here, the difference. So this is on the picture on the left is a traditional oil-filled pump, what we've been talking about so far. And you can see you have to cover the entire pump up to the top of the handle of the pump to keep it, to make sure it's always submerged and to make sure it's always cooled. For the NV, we don't need to do that because the motor is self-cooling basically. So all you have to do is you just have to have the water just above the volute to avoid any airlocks. And once we do that, you can have a shallower lift station. If it's an existing station where we are replacing pumps, what the benefit there would be, the lower you can keep the level of water, the less would be the buildup of fats, oils, and grease on top of the, the water, right? Because the pump will, whenever the pump runs, it's going to try to pump everything, and it's going to suck all that stuff when the water is lower. So it keeps your pit clean, basically. Again, it's the motor platform, so the bottom part of the pump stays the same, so we can get it with the chopper, or we can get it with a standard non-clog. We can get it with all those different impeller options that we talked about for the non-clog pump, and for the chopper, you have limited options in terms of impeller because you have the blades at the bottom. Obviously, comes with the plug-and-play cord as well, that's what we talked about. Since it can cool itself, you can, like I mentioned, install it horizontally, vertically, in the pit, out the pit, basically. We have a high temperature option available as well for your industrial applications where you might need that. And again, this also uses your non-proprietary wear parts so that you don't have to, rely on us to source that, basically.
Question.
Yeah.
The guide rail you're showing, is that included with the pump? The vertical guide rail you show in the video?
Yeah, so the guidance system, typically what happens is when we, when we are working on a project and you come to us that, hey, this is the correct area, we would ask you how is the pump going to be installed? And then if the pump is going to go on guide rails, the guide rails will come along with the pump, right? It could be a separate item in the quote, but it would be
Kind of vertical, thinking like of a, say, like a storm tank and you're dropping, so you don't have to have a service tank go down into the storm tank, you can just bring the pump up.
yes, because then you just, hook the chain, pull the pump out.
And the wire comes up with it, and you could disconnect it on the top.
So what happens is basically
slide.
This portion, this, you can see here, this is the movable fitting. It's attached to the pump, okay? And when the pump is dropped down, the weight of the pump basically pushes against the elbow and it creates a seal, right? So they only have to go down to install this base. Once the base is installed, then, obviously your pit will be cleaned. The pit will be brand new, no water, nothing in it when we are installing the base elbow. And then you install the boot, the movable boot on the pump. And then when you have to lift the pump up, basically you just, that's how it's sealed when it's down. When you lift it up, the weight gets away and then you can pull it out. That's the concept. And we always recommend, if it's possible, to put a guided system, because in the future, obviously there are issues, or you have to pull the pump out, it's very tough to do it. If it's hard pipe, you'll save money now, but you'll spend a lot of money later on. So that's the theory here. Now these rails that you see here, we don't supply the rails. This rails are typically supplied by others, but we will supply the base elbow, the movable fitting, and the top bracket where the rails will be mounted to. Right? So yeah, that's the most common type of installation when it comes to submersible pumps. Then you have your vertical dry pit installation, you have your horizontal dry pit installation, right? So depending on where the station is, what the application is. The only thing is with the horizontal ones, with these pumps, you need to make sure that, the water is above the pump so that it can be primed. Now, you might ask, what's the difference between oil-filled versus air-filled? When do I choose which, right? Both of them are different ways of keeping the motor cool. Obviously, air-filled is more efficient. Oil-filled is a, traditional design. Oil-filled is cheaper slightly than the air-filled. Roughly, you're looking at 8 to 10% difference between the cost, typically. And then, that gap actually is getting closer. So your air-fills are coming down, actually, to be at the same level. And, both of them, like I said, if it's an existing install, you might be okay just to install the oil-filled pump, that's fine, right? It's already there, you're just replacing it. But if it's a new install, you can design it such that, you don't have to have a very shallow, very deep pit. You can have it shallower, right? And that way, you save some money on that side of things for your client, basically. And, we'll share these slides with you so you can have them as a reference, but just a quick guide, again, goes by the amount of solids that the pumps can handle. Depending on what type of application it is, we typically, get requests for, your sanitary, storm, sewage, effluent applications. Those are the most typical ones that we see on the, commercial building side of things. And then as you see, we started with some effluent pumps, very little solids they can handle, so mostly clean water. As you go up to size, your 2-inch, your 3-inch sewage jector pumps, they can cover a lot more of those applications. But again, you have to see how many solids, what type of solids you're dealing with. Then you go into your 4-inch, obviously, you now have more room in terms of how much solids it can handle. And then, we go into chopper, we go into grinder. It doesn't mention the size of solid here because if there's a t-shirt that goes into the pump, it's going to be chopped into 1 to 3-inch sizes. So we don't specify there that how many solids. And, just talking about, so what we've talked about today is barns. There are other stuff, other brands under the Crane umbrella as well. Your birds is mostly your end suction turbine pumps. So, you use them for your clean water, condensate, HVAC related applications. Crown, that's our self-priming pumps. Basically, Deming, it's, mostly your split case pumps and again, your end suction pumps used in processes, industrial applications, a lot of that. Prosser, dewatering pumps. So, mostly used by like cellular providers, for example, when they do a service call, they have to drain the pit. They use one of these pumps to drain the pit. And then Weinmann, similar to Deming, it's, again, your split case pumps and suction pumps, but more on the focus towards HVAC. And, we won't go through this, but, this is just really outlining that what are some of the things we need to know before we size a pump for a typical application. Obviously, the more we know, the better a selection we can make. And, just asking you things like, what's the flow, what's the head, what's the static head, what's the voltage, discharge pipe size, and, what type of application is it, so that we can choose the right pump. Because obviously there's a lot of options, and we need to narrow it down according to the application. So, we can talk about it, but might be better to show you. So we go on to, Crane Pump's website. You can go on to the website anytime. And there's a lot of content there as well that we have covered if you want to learn more about, the products and stuff. You go to different markets. You can play around with this graphic that we were going through. So say, you need solids handling pump, you click on solids handling, and it will show you all solids handling pumps at the bottom there, and then you can get more information about it. When you're talking to your clients, grinder, same thing, all the resources in one place with the grinder. The other thing is when you're on the website and you need to get specifications for a pump, data sheets and stuff, you go to customer tools, go to product catalogs. And we have revamped our website and our catalog system recently. So you'll go into Barnes, and then there's all the different pumps there. Say we're looking for a chopper pump, you click on chopper. It's asking you what type of motor you want. You want oil filled or you want dry run NV. Say we click NV, and then it's all the different sizes, the different hydraulics available there. So goes up to 10-inch. So say, we'll click on this, and then, it gives you the different horsepower options available for that particular model. Click on that, and then everything about the pump is on this one page. The curves are there. Depending on what voltage you're looking at, you can, remove all the other voltages. So, you can just press and filter it out so that it's cleaner. And then you scroll down, the drawings are there. The manual for the pump is there. The engineering specifications are there. Station drawings are there. For example, click on station drawings, and it gives you the station drawings for like a simplex package, a duplex package, concrete and fiberglass. So, for example, we click on here, and that's your drawing. Basically, so you can pull everything out from that one page. Your marketing resources, so sales sheets, brochures, everything you can get from that one page. And then once you're ready to download it, you will just press on top this download button. And it will generate a PDF with the hyperlinks. So the links are still clickable. You don't have to go back to the website. Reloading because of the Wi-Fi.
We want to skip that, I think. It's taking a long time.
I was trying to connect with the printer in the office. That's why. Yeah. We'll try that again. It's trying to connect to the printer in my office, that's why it's loading. But anyways, when you click on that button, you'll just select it to change it to a download as a PDF, and you'll be able to download the PDF for the catalog sheets. Now you might ask, there are so many options, how do I find out where to go, which pump to select? That basically would be done through the pump selector software. So when you go on the main website, you have the catalogs, you have the pump selector. This is free for everyone to use. You just have to register online with your login information, create an account, and you can use it. And once you log in,
Once you create an account, you will receive an email for a code. Once you use that code, you just type in the code, then you will get an access to that software.
yeah. And so, you go on Barnes, start pump selection. And, like you said, we need to know the flow and the head for the pumps, right? So that's why we ask, so we say, for example, just random 100 at 30. And we're looking at a sewage pump, standard sewage pump. We go down, select sewage injector, 2 to 3 inch. We can choose what type of motor or RPM we need, but we'll just go all, hit search, and it will give you all the options of the pumps that can meet that particular duty condition, right? And so typically what we would do for you guys is to pick the most efficient option based on the duty point. So like here, the software is telling me I can go with the 1.5 horsepower pump, I can go with the 2 horsepower pump, I can go with the 3 horsepower pump. But obviously, if the 1.5 horsepower pump can do it, we'll go with that because it would be lower price and it can be the duty condition, right? So that's how we would select it. And then it will generate, the curve for you. It will give you the system curve. It will tell you where the system curve will intersect with the pump curve, so where the pump will actually be operating. So we put, 100 at 30 feet. This pump is going to be right on the curve with that 5.875-inch impeller. It's going to do 100 at 30.3 feet. Now, if I was to increase the impeller size, which you can play with your to 6-inch, which is the standard impeller size on this particular pump, now it's going to do 100 at 3 gallons at 32 feet. So it increases it basically. But what would happen is, obviously the flow is dictated by the pressure. So if it's, the system is 30 feet, it will just pump a little bit more and it will pump a little bit less time. And you can also generate a data sheet for this. Go print data sheet. So you can, have a document to look at, basically. That's what it will generate for you. So yeah, those are some of the tools that we have online. If you want to explore yourself, you're working on a project, and you need to know what options you have, you can play around with these tools. And then, obviously we can help you with that as well, right? If you want us to size a pump for you, we can do all that. And, that's basically all we have. As I said, you're located in Brampton. Munir and myself, we have our contact information. You can feel free to reach out to us anytime on any projects that you might be working on, and we'll be more than happy to help. Any questions? Anything you guys come across? Any projects that you're working on that you need help with? Anything? Feel free. Awesome.
Anybody online may be interested to have any question?
There was like a remarks for the some pumps, tandem mechanical seal.
Say that again, sorry.
Tandem mechanical seal?
Yes.
Or double mechanical seal? What are those?
So it's different across different pumps, but most of the double seal pumps that we have, it's tandem seals, right? So the lower seal is silicon carbide seal, and the upper seal, which is inside the motor, like attached to the shaft, that's your carbon ceramic seal. And then you have options. We can upgrade both the seals to silicon carbide. We can upgrade the seals to tungsten carbide, depending on how harsh the application is.
So in like a standard application for storm sump pump, let's say, which type of seal should be?
For a stormwater application, standard seal would be fine, a silicon carbide. If you go with your solid sanding pumps, and that's typically what you would use anyways, bigger pumps, more volume for the storm applications. But if it's a lower volume application, you still be fine with the standard carbon ceramic, because it's as long as the media being pumped, it's not abrasive, you're fine with the standard seal.
So we don't really need to specify.
No.
Some pumps come with a standard lower seal, like silicon. Some of them, they come with carbon ceramic as a standard. But it depends on the application itself. If there is a high chance that there will be sand or abrasive material, go with the silicon carbide. If it is like standard sewage, there is almost like zero sand or abrasive materials, carbon ceramic should be fine. And of course, there are pumps that come with a single mechanical seal, and there are also available a double mechanical seal.
When should we call for the double mechanical seal?
When you think that the application is abrasive and you need some more like extra, you can call it backup protection basically. But for the most part, I would say, from what Munir and I see, 80 to 85% of the jobs that we work on, the projects that we work on, it's single seals. And on the bigger pumps that we've talked about, your solid sanding pumps, the chopper pumps, grinder pumps, most of them come standard with double seals anyways. So it's more, on the lower, less harsh applications where you have to make a choice. The other thing is, with double seals, on the pumps that are not standard with double seals, when you get double seals, you also, since you're spending the money, you'd also want to get moisture sensors. Then you add moisture sensors to the equation, you need to change the panel to have moisture sensor relays. So it increases the cost. But if the application you think is going to experience some abrasiveness, it's worth it. What else?
Are you guys working on any projects specifically nowadays where you need submersible pumps?
Or stormwater tanks happen.
Sorry?
A lot of times there's stormwater tanks. Like a lot of condos downtown or condos anywhere, they require a stormwater tank.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of times, depending on the design, sometimes you need a submersible tank, not a submersible pump.
We work on projects for Metrolinx, for example,
Personally, I don't. But
You
the
don't?
office,
like hospitals maybe, or government offices or buildings or hotels.
colleagues do know.
Okay.
But for you guys, mostly, what type of projects in general, you would say would be the high runners that, you'd have to work on, is it
Condos and food stores
condos and food stores?
and retail.
Oh, got it. Yeah, and condos, it's standard, right? You have your sewage, you have a sanitary, storm, groundwater, right? So, yeah, a lot of condos, now we're seeing they're going to chopper pumps because of all the issues that we have mentioned for their sewage stations. For stormwater, it's just stormwater. You don't have to go with any chopper there. But that's only what people flush down the toilets is what causes the issues. And with food stores, so do they usually have pits as well, I guess?
Well, try to avoid using pumps at all costs first, so everything needs gravity.
Okay.
If you can't, then yes, we introduce pumps.
Yeah, but a lot of the food processing plants, like protein plants, chicken processing, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a little
Uh,
it was the food stores and the retail side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and they wouldn't need any of that, right? But
Depends on the situation. All
Yeah.
projects are different.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but on the food processing side, when they wash down their pits, like their floors and everything, they have chicken bones. They have,
Oh yeah, that's grinder or chopper or
Yeah.
something, right?
Exactly. So those applications. Awesome. Awesome. Well, that's all we have. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us,
Definitely.
and we'll be more than happy to help. Thank you so much.
Have contact.
Thank you, everyone, online. And like I said, any questions, shoot us an email or call us at our office. More than happy to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you like to keep more of those brochures here?
With the separate, since everyone will have.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, keep in touch, okay? Keep in touch. Don't be so much in the. Oh, all right. Anytime.
Take care, sir. Have a good one.
That's my job.
Thank you.
Pleasure was to meet you again. And,
Thank you so much.
Contact, so it's good.
I didn't get your name.
I wonder whether.
Yeah,
Tia?
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for attending. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
thank you for presentation.
No problem. Feel free to shoot us questions.
I'm sorry?
Ying, who was sitting here,
Uh-huh.
he works on their.
Ah, okay.
She just went back to that. Yeah. He wasn't online either,
Thank you.
so he's probably in,
Okay.
he's usually online,
Uh-huh.
if he's not in the office. So he wasn't there, so he's probably at a meeting.
Oh, okay. The one that, because I didn't see his name. Okay, you have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take it with you. Thank you.
Thank you.